Welcome to Friday Fish Facts. I'm your host, Ron DeSantis. Today we're going to set up a shell dweller tank. But before we get into that, I just want to give Ryan from Wild Fish Tanks a big shout out. I got this shirt from him. Guys, check it out, Wild Fish Tanks. Okay, so instead of buying a new tank and setting it up just how we want it, we're going to take this 29 gallon and we're going to make this our shell dweller tank. Now you don't need a tank that big. You probably want something bigger than this 5.5 gallon, which is housing some dwarf and Buna fry down there right now. You want something at least 10 gallons. 20 long is perfect. I'm going with this 29 gallon. You know, I really want to get a big group going, so that's the reason I'm going with the 29. Now this tank setup is not suitable for shell dwellers. The pH is too low. Guppies want at least 7, and this tank is not even there yet. It's about 6.8. That's just pool filter sand in the bottom with some coral sprinkled throughout the tank. And these plants, there's driftwood, it's keeping the pH down a little bit. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna move these guppies to another tank, and we're gonna take the Adolfo Corridoras, which are all hiding right now, I think. Oh, you might be able to see one right there. There's a group of 7 down there. We're gonna take those out into another tank as well. We're gonna turn this one into our shell dweller tank. Okay, so we've moved the fish out of the 29 gallon. We moved the Corys down to the 40 gallon breeder with the Koi tuxedo guppies and the super reds of the tangerine tigers. And we moved the blue the blue metal lace guppies into Ben's tank with the albino Corys. So this tank here, we still have to finish scraping all this waster tang out of there. There's some little bits on the bottom, and we'll take that out. And there's a little bit of coral in there already, and there's some shells in there already. That's because the guppies, they also require a pH that's a little bit higher, usually around 7. Unfortunately, this tank was still only sitting at about 6.8, so we're really gonna have to hit it hard to get that pH up. So here in this bucket, this is what we're gonna do. So we are gonna go to April's when our fish are in, and I have seen them, but they're still in quarantine. So I got these shells on Amazon. So what you want to do, however many shell dwellers you're getting, you want to get 2 to 6 shells per fish. So these are easily attainable. I think these were like 17 bucks Canadian on Amazon for 24 shells. April's has some too. I'll probably pick up some little funky ones and get those too. These are the Escargo Shelves, which are a common shell that's used by people in the hobby. You can also get little PVC elbows, and then you just put a cap on one side. Those actually work better for getting babies out. I just don't think they're as aesthetically pleasing, so I'm choosing to go with shells. Now, like I mentioned before, all we have in there is pool filter sand. So we've got some coral here. This is coral sand that we're gonna put on top, help get that pH up. I've got some leftover pieces from my Mbuna tank of coral here. We're gonna sprinkle a bunch of this in there as well. Now, if you're using a hang-on back filter, you wanna put some of this inside the hang-on back filter so the water flow is constantly on it. That'll help get that pH up as well. And then, my neighbor Keith, he's got a saltwater tank. So he's given me all this dead coral. Now, I'll go through this and see what we're gonna use. Like, we probably won't use this honkin' piece here. This will look good in another one of my African cichlid tanks. We've got another huge piece here. Nice piece there. And then we got some little pieces down in the bottom. Those little pieces are probably the ones we're gonna end up using, but I really like this one here. I'll use this one in another length, another tank. Like I mentioned before, the water in Vancouver is very soft, around like 6.0, and Lake Tanganyika, which is where the shell dwellers are from, it's like swimming in liquid calcium. So we're gonna get this pH up, we're gonna get this tank set up, and then when these fish are out of quarantine, we're gonna go get them. When you first put the shells on the water, they're gonna float. All you do is hold them under the water, and then they'll sink. One sec, here, I'll tell you what to do. Okay, so I'm gonna use the API testing kit to test the pH. So I pulled this out of the tank. Ben's gonna help me. Ben, you hold that. Okay, so we're gonna take our pH high range. We're gonna add 5 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Purple's a good sign. We'll put the cap on. Give it a little shake there, Ben. Okay, and then let's compare it. The one, we want to use that. Move over one there, Ben. There you go. So we're right about the 8.4 level. We're very happy with that. All right. Okay, so the lights aren't on yet, but this is our setup that we've got. And we've got our shells. We've got 24 shells here, and then we picked up some more today. And we're going to put those in, and then we are going to add our fish. Now we've checked them out, and the water pH in this tank is sitting at 8.4 right now, so it's good for them. We're back at April's. The multis are out of quarantine. We're gonna pick them up. We're gonna have a little look around. They've got some shells here too and some coral. Let's have a look. We've got a nice collection of shells here. We might get one or two to toss in with the mix that we've got. Here's some of the sand, crushed coral. We can also pick up some giant pieces of coral. It's clean, so we don't have to worry about any. These are kind of cool. I haven't seen these for shell dwellers before, but they're like barnacles. You can swim in and out of them. So here they are. Now we've chosen neolamprologus multifasciatus for a couple of reasons. Number one, they have a reputation of being the most hardy and the easiest to breed out of the shell dwellers. They're also really small, minimum tank size. You could probably get away with a 5.5 gallon, but I wouldn't go smaller than a 10. We're going to use a 29 gallon for our tank, and we're excited to get these. They're a colony breeder. Let's bag some of these up and let's get them home. So here we are. I've had them now for about a week. They're starting to color up more. That looks like a female right there. The females aren't as bright as the males. We've got 8 in here. Some are hiding. Some are in and out. My goal was to get at least even males and females. It would be better if I had a few more females to males, but this species isn't super aggressive to each other if there's a bunch of males. They're easy to feed. You just want to make sure you keep a lot of high protein. I've been feeding mine frozen brine shrimp, some baby brine shrimp, cichlid pellets, and some micro worms. You can also give them flakes as well. I haven't yet, but I will be. The temperature in the tank, you want between about 75 and 81. Unfortunately, it's been a little hot lately, so this tank has creeped up to 83, 84, but they seem to have been doing okay as long as that's not a prolonged temperature. So we only use some of those big pieces of coral. There's the biggest one right there that we got from our neighbor Keith. And there it is right there. You always want to make sure if you're getting it from a saltwater tank, there's another piece right there from his tank, that you want to make sure there's nothing dead inside them. I went ahead and boiled these just in case and before I put them in, and they're doing great. Well, I hope you enjoy your shell dweller tank just as much as I do. Join me next week for another edition of Friday Fish Facts.